recording. And then send out the info, spread the word. And I think we can begin. And let's see now. Oh, looks like, yep, we got feed. Got feed on my Twitch stream. Yep, and I think, oh, okay, you're already there. So, I think with all that said, we can officially begin. Yes! I am finally back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to you all to AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Podcast. Yes, and wow, we already got a lot of feedback already. A lot of people are already starting to come in, and I guess the first thing that I want to do is just want to go and mention that I actually do have a special guest star to start things off. I know a lot of people have asked me that if I can have more people coming in, especially the fact that, considering that people want to hear more than just one opinion going on in this podcast. So I did bring in one, so please welcome, ladies and gentlemen, EyeofSol. What is up? Wait, first of all, actually, I just want to know the big question. Can people hear her? Because that would actually be very nice. Well, first of all, I just need to have the reception from people to see if... Alright, and also I'm going to get a lot of messages, a lot of people that might follow me and stuff like that. So, guys, if you can mention in the chat wall, can you hear I? Uh-oh. Oh, that's not good. No? Hold on, I'm trying to see. Nope. Okay, yeah, your mic is set. It's just I need to make sure that on my end to see what I can do. Actually, hold on. It could be a Skype thing, actually. Yeah, I'm contacting her on Skype, so I just want to see. So I just want to see. Let's see now. Audio, yes. Okay, so, yeah. Okay, you're already seeing a lot of behind the scenes. So. The ringing, okay, no, it's not the ringing that I want, it's, here, multi-output device, there we go. Okay, so, can you speak again, just to see if it can work?
Yep, hello.
Holy crap, it does! I can even hear it on my end. Okay, so I think we got everything set up now.
Oh my god.
Yes, okay. So, oh, by the way, actually, before we begin, I just want to go and have a mention. I want to give a huge thanks to Mohammed Fikri. He is the guy who actually did this crazy, insane logo that you see right over here. Very Nickelodeon-esque. Yeah, it can have a bit of that gross-out humor, but honestly, it just looks amazing. So I just want to give him a shout-out and just want to give him a huge thanks for his amazing work that he did. And you'll also see it in the top right corner all the time throughout this podcast. So, before we begin, does anybody have any questions regarding what's going to be going on throughout this podcast? Does anybody know what's, do you got any concerns? Do you have any comments? Do you want to know what's going to be happening throughout the show? Let me know. Let me know. We can answer them. Yeah, if you got a question, please answer it. Crazy, insane, that's my friend's nickname. Did video started yet? Yes, it's literally starting right now. Alright, do we have anything else? How long will the podcast be? I'm expecting, like, usually when I did my podcast before, they would be like around an hour or an hour and a half, so well, we'll see how it goes. Since this is the new format, we'll just see how things are gonna turn out. So, yeah, I think, are you going to talk about certain okay, hold on. Don't ask me about the topics or what's gonna be happening, because, we will get into them today. So, my big question right now is, are you guys ready? Shall we begin this new podcast? Oh my god, it's been a while since I tried to set it up, so... Or actually, you know what? My god, oh my god, I just realized. Beforehand, actually, can you tell us a little bit about yourself before we begin? For those of you who don't know who she is.
Sure. Just like AniMat, I do animation reviews. So 2D, 3D stop motion anime. I do gaming live streams and yeah, do video essays. Basically anything that's animated is the content of my channel, pretty much.
Yeah, and also recently we did do a little bit of a collaboration, but it's like a really big collaboration with the
Yeah.
with the Disney ripoffs. Like,
Mhm.
can you tell a little bit more about that one, because that's actually a huge project that you've done. Like, you've done an amazing work with it, and so does all the other collaborators in there.
Yeah. So yeah, the story behind it that I received the DVD with these 10 bootleg princess videos on them, I was like, it's true. So the only thing that was not true is that it did have a cover, and I took it off because I thought that would be a little bit more creepy. But I did receive the bootleg princess, and I was like, I like the idea of reviewing 10 movies, but reviewing 10 movies with me is boring, I think, because the same things would be said over and over and over again. That's boring. So I was like, hey, why don't I get some people to do this with me? Originally, I was only going to have three, funnily enough, but then I was like, oh, I Hate Everything did the same sort of thing. Um, so then I expanded it to just have everyone do it. I was going to do two originally, but then things changed. So yeah, it was basically a really, really good time to reach out to other cartoon YouTubers and or cartoon or anime YouTubers and just have a fun time. Just chat with them and just see what awesome stuff they could bring. Because I'm really glad I did that because it was way funnier having everyone else's videos, especially yours especially included. That's what made it great. I think it would have been super boring if it was just me.
Don't put your you're entertaining enough as it is. Don't put yourself down. I
No,
mean,
I mean just 2 hours of saying the same things over and over again. That's kind of boring.
no, I understand, but no, still, it turned out to be something amazing, and I congratulate your efforts. And guys, after the podcast, I highly recommend you go and check out that big collaboration. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. So, with all that said, why not go ahead and let's begin this episode? And we actually do have a bit of a theme because, considering this is the big comeback of the podcast, we are also going to be looking into the comeback of many other different properties. There's a lot of different animation aspects and different animated characters and properties. They're returning as well. And the first one that we are going to be covering today is actually Harvey Birdman! But not just Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law. This is going to be a brand new special. And this is going to be Harvey Birdman, Attorney General. Yes, Adult Swim, by the way, using my source here at Deadline, it has revealed that Adult Swim revealed they're going to be bringing back Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law, but in a brand new special called Harvey Birdman, Attorney General. So, reading from the synopsis, it says here that the new special features Birdman as the country's next Attorney General, as announced by President Phil Ken Sebin. In his new role, it's up to Birdman to find a way to remove the president from the office before everyone starts to worry it's more than the ridiculous plot to an animated show. And there are going to be a lot of new voices and some recurring voices that are going to be coming back. So, these will actually include Gary Cole reprising his role as Harvey Birdman. We also got Stephen Colbert, who's going to be the megalomaniac billionaire President Phil Ken Sebin. And then on top of that, we also got John Michael Higgins as Mentalk the Mind Taker, Paget Brewster as Bird Girl, Chris Edgerly as Peter Potamus, Peter McNichol as X the Eliminator, and Phil Lamar as Black Vulcan. So,
Oh yeah.
yeah, do you actually watch, have you ever seen Harvey Birdman before?
Yeah, I used to watch it when it was on the Detour on Teletoon at night.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since I've seen it though, so I don't have any specific memories of it. I wasn't a fan of those types of shows when I was a kid. I liked more adult shows like Clone High and stuff, but in my adult years, I've come to appreciate shows like The Venture Brothers. So I will admit I have not seen Harvey Birdman in its entirety, and I would really like to. It's been on my list for a super long time, but I've always appreciated it. It's always had this sort of like it's always sort of existed in its own little special corner, I've believed, and I've wanted to go back into that corner and appreciate it more. I just haven't done it yet.
Yeah, honestly, it's a little bit, well, it's a little bit of the opposite. Actually, I've never seen an episode of Harvey Birdman, but I'm actually a fan of that style because when I was a kid or like more of a teenager, I used to always watch shows that are related to that style. Like I really enjoyed watching The Brack Show. That one was my
Yeah,
favorite. I love watching
I
that.
love the Brock Show.
And also, I really liked watching Aqua Teen Hunger Force. It's like that's one of the stupidest shows I've ever seen, but sometimes like it can be quite hilarious because of its sheer stupidity. But yeah, Harvey Birdman is one that I haven't seen yet, and I probably should, honestly. But looking into this new version of Harvey Birdman with what they're doing, I mean, I think it's pretty direct with the goal that this special is trying to be is that they're trying to create this they're trying to create a political commentary. I think it's pretty much obvious from the get-go what they're trying to do, and I think there's no, like, honestly, I apologize if I get into this aspect of the politics and stuff like that, but I think it's pretty clear it's trying to make fun of the Trump presidency, and there are many signs of it.
hmm it's interesting because I think Stephen Colbert is involved with another cartoon that also is lampooning actually lampooning the Trump presidency. It's kind of like That's My Bush, but animated. Um,
Yes, our cartoon president.
yeah, that one. That's what it's called.
Yeah, he's
So he obviously really likes to rail on the Trump presidency.
well, yeah, well, I mean, especially like if you watch the, I think it's the Late Show, of course, but like he's the executive producer on that one, and here is like more of the voice, but you could definitely tell in many aspects. Well, number one, like you look into the series, like you look at the first picture that they got. Obviously, they got the red hats, and it says 46.5, so that is a clear indication right over there. But it's especially with the character of Phil Ken Sebin, of President Sebin, the fact that he is a megalomaniac billionaire, and especially the big aspect is the theme of impeachment, because that's what this special is about, what it's trying to say. The fact that that Harvey Birdman's mission is to get rid of what the majority of people view as a supervillain. You would go like, yeah, like you got a person who is a supervillain and he's in one of the most powerful positions in the world, and you got to find a way to just get rid of him.
hmm I actually think that that's a good idea as long as it's handled properly. Like, this is the thing is that South Park kind of did this sort of thing trying to lampoon the Trump presidency with Mr. Garrison being Trump. And I hate to say it because South Park very rarely stumbles on this, but they did a terrible job lampooning the Trump presidency. It's like it was so unbelievable they couldn't even handle it. So my concern with this reboot is that if they go too far trying to lampoon it, like if they don't take a light touch toward it, it might fail in the same way that South Park did.
Yeah, I mean, it is a very dangerous aspect because like you're entering into like really dangerous territory. Like even like I can even say that by experience. The fact like you could just say the word Trump and you could trigger a whole lot of people and it would cause massive outrage.
hmm
Like the dangerous aspect is that if you don't do it well, then it could really fall hard. Rather, if you want to like no matter what in this situation, I feel like you're definitely going to anger people just by doing this alone. But if done correctly, if they can execute it right, then it could actually turn out to be something well done. It could actually turn out to be something good.
hmm Yeah, so like I said, they need a light touch for sure.
Hmm.
If they go too hard into parodying it, like they do direct parodies, pretty much like they take all the I mean I know Trump does dumb shit on a daily basis kind of thing, but if they take the dumb shit that he does on a daily basis and just directly put it onto the series, you know, Trump is dumb enough already and he does enough dumb things that we're tired of it in real life. So it doesn't he's like a parody of himself, so we don't really need to see parodies of a parody of a guy. So that's what I mean when I say taking a light touch towards it, is that if they sort of allude to his stupidity and the dumb things that he does instead of directly adapting them like South Park did, then it could be funny, because then we could laugh and be like, yeah, what an idiot. He's dumb, isn't he? But instead of being like, oh yeah, that was dumb. So he is dumb as opposed to that was dumb, because we're still in it. We're still suffering in the stink of it all, unfortunately. So it's not funny to people right now, because it's just tiring and sad. But if we just are like, oh yeah, he did that and that was funny, that's making light of the situation without directly poking fun at it.
Yeah, and I think, like, in the way that they are approaching it, like, I think one thing that can really help in its favor is that it's not being as direct as some of the stuff that we have mentioned, because, like, our cartoony president, well, there's no filter. I mean, it's going directly on what it's trying to do, and especially even that South Park episode, it's pretty much very clear on what they're trying to make. But this one, like, it's not, like, this is set in kind of like a fictional future. Like, even the hats actually do say 46.5. So, like, this is kind of a new president, and, like, they are trying to talk about it looks like they're going to go into, like, this metaphorical world that would be related to Trump in a sense. So, not go like, in a way, not going directly, it can work out in its favor, while at the same time, if it can focus maybe not too much on trying to go after the Trump presidency and go with its comedic style, like trying to be more Harvey Birdman than it is an attack on Trump, then I think it can actually work out very well, and maybe even intelligent, so it can imply some commentaries onto it, like if it wants to discuss about many of the issues that Trump would unleash, like the rise of neo-Nazism in America, or the like the border wall, or the mass shootings and all that kind of stuff. Like, if they have something to say, then if done right, they can actually bring it out in a way that is comical, intelligent, and even thought-provoking.
Yeah, the key word there though is done right.
Yeah.
Sorry, in the comments here, or sorry, the chat, JF the Lalzor Plays says they actually made an animated feature where Trump was the main character. It's called Boss Baby.
Oh yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah, that's funny. That's a good point. I mean, I hate the Boss Baby. I think it's a terrible movie. But I wouldn't disagree with you. They try to, like, make it Apprentice era Trump, I would say. That movie's terrible.
Yeah, it's easily one of Pixar's worst. And for me, I just
sorry,
feel
DreamWorks.
like,
Sorry, it's DreamWorks.
yeah, what did you say?
The Boss Baby is DreamWorks.
Yeah? What did you say before?
Nothing. Oh, you said Pixar. It's one of Pixar's worst.
Wait, did I say that?
Yeah.
Oh, crap. Oh, sorry. Oh, okay.
That's okay.
All right, wow. Wow, even Pixar's worst is not as bad as Boss Baby.
Yeah. Even their worst movie.
Yeah. Yeah, no, but the thing with the Boss Baby is that I still believe it's really coincidental with everything that's going on with the connections between the Boss Baby and Trump. And I've already discussed this a while back in my old podcast, where where like everything seems to coincidentally be connected, and especially one big thing that does help that is actually the fact that you got Alec Baldwin. He's the voice of the Boss Baby, and especially with his connection with Saturday Night Live.
Yeah. I just wanted to say, like, just because of the comment, but yeah.
No, I understand, but yeah, I think I definitely, like, the whole thing, to summarize, is that, like, like, Harvey Birdman is coming back, but in kind of some dangerous territory, but if done right, then it could be a miraculous return, but if not, then this is going to be a bit of a heavy blow towards Adult Swim.
Yeah, so my stance on that is just, I wish them the best of luck, as long as they take a light approach to it. Then I think it'll be okay.
Exactly. Now, at this point, though, even though we both express our opinion on it, I would like to know from the chat wall, I would like to see what the audience thinks. Do you guys have any questions? Do you guys have any comments about... Okay, well, yeah, I can see you definitely have a whole lot of comments about it, but do you have any comments? Do you have any concerns? Do you have any questions? Something, like, anything more that we can answer regarding Harvey Birdman, his comeback, and what would be the political approach to it? Just want to see.
just seeing a lot of Boss Baby comments right now.
Oh yeah. It's like no matter what, if you mention one movie, then like instantly, then like people will really bring up. Like even when you met, like I saw at some point, like you mentioned just Clone High, and then suddenly the Lord and Miller comments just kept flying off.
Yeah. Man, I love Clone High though.
I need to watch Clone High, to be very honest.
Oh, Nostalgia Critic reviewed Boss Baby and Emoji Movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He kind of has to at this point.
It seems like everything he's done lately has been animated because those get more views for him.
Of course. Well,
But
he's trying to do crowd pleasers at this point. Trying to make sure people change the channel as much as you can.
Yeah, I've already been on multiple spiels about that though, so I just don't want to right now.
Let's see. Harvey Birdman, more like bad show. Yachty! That cute little comment there.
Go to both. I remember C-Lab 2021.
I haven't seen C-Lab 2021. I felt like that seems more connected with Venture Brothers in a way. It seems similar.
They actually parodied or more referenced C-Lab 2021 in Archer.
Well, yeah, I think it's from the same makers, right?
Yes. But C-Lab 2021 is closer to the Brack show than the Venture Brothers, because the Venture Brothers is independently animated, as in like they created new things.
Oh, in terms of style, right.
C-Lab 2021 just took assets from an old show and just repurposed them for a new show, like an old Hanna-Barbera cartoon. Similar to the Brack show with their usage of Space Ghost, Moltar, Zorak. All these characters were repurposed from the old Hanna-Barbera Space Ghost cartoon. Okay, yeah. So it has a lot more in common with Brack show than the Venture Brothers.
Yeah, I do get what you mean. Yeah, I was thinking more like maybe you meant that in more the in the comedy style, where like Brack is just like this big adorable kid in a way, but
man, I love Brack so much.
He's one of my favorite Cartoon Network characters, actually.
He's so adorable. What I love is when he dances in the second season, just
oh yeah. I just mostly like when he just takes his knee, like you just see him like go like up, down, up, down, up, down.
Yeah. I'm driving down Highway 40 in my big old pickup truck. Oh, wait, man. Have you seen the Brack Show specials?
Man, it's been such a long time though.
It's the Brack Show presents the Brack Show starring Brack. There's a few little like tidbits on the first season DVD.
Yeah, I think I might have, but again, it's been far too long.
Okay. See, I've watched it a bajillion times, and yeah, I quite like it. My favorite episode is Shadows of Heat. That one's great. Just the shadows of heat, how they flicker. It's George Martinez!
Nice.
I'm Hector Rivera, George Martinez, it's dead.
Okay, so with all that said, so we got a comeback from Harvey Birdman right now, but let's move on to another comeback, and this just recently was announced, but oh boy, a certain cartoon character came back, but in a way that really angered a whole lot of people. And I'm talking, of course, about the ThunderCats with this guy right over here. Cartoon Network is bringing back ThunderCats. And Cartoon Network basically is going to be collaborating with Warner Brothers Animation in order to create a reboot of the ThunderCats series, which is one of the most popular animated shows that came out in the 80s, pretty much in the same veins of like Transformers, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, He-Man, and all that stuff. But this time it's going to be ThunderCats Roar. And going into my source in Entertainment Weekly, the story, it states here, staying true to the premise of the original series, Lion-O and the ThunderCats, Tigra, Panthro, Chitara, Willy Cat, and Willy Kit barely escaped the sudden destruction of their home world, Thundera, only to crash land on the mysterious and exotic planet of Third Earth. Lion-O, the newly appointed Lord of the ThunderCats, attempts to lead the team as they make this planet their new home. A bizarre host of creatures and villains stand in their way, including the evil Mumra, Third Earth's wicked ruler who will let nothing, including the ThunderCats, stop his tyrannical reign over the planet. And we also got a comment about what the style is going to be in terms of like the tone of the series, coming from producer Victor Courtwright, as he states, I think the world that they built lends itself really well to comedy because of how silly and crazy and outlandish those ideas are, and some of those settings are. But at the same time, it wouldn't be ThunderCats if it didn't have super cool action elements, because that's what people came back to. It's very much something that we want to lean on. So with the new show, we're not walking away from the action in any bit. Every step we take towards comedy, we take 2 more steps towards really cool action scenes and explosions and lasers and action effects. And on top of that, we also see that Entertainment Weekly posted this 3-minute first look into the new ThunderCats, which is aiming for a more cartoonier and more comedic approach than how it previously was in the past series, like the original 80s show and the early 2010, the series from 2011. And from there, the reactions, oh my god, they have been nasty, to be honest. Like, people will not take it. What's your opinion on this? What do you think of, like, the first approach of this new ThunderCats?
Okay, so I just want to clarify that I've actually never watched ThunderCats, so I have no nostalgia for it. I'm not attached to the characters or anything like that. I have no personal investment in ThunderCats. That being said, what the hell is this? I don't understand why they're doing this. It looks like Steven Universe crossed with OK Go with some terrible Tumblr rejects. I just don't get it. Like, you have a franchise that people are familiar with, they love, they're attached to. It has a lot of nostalgia for a lot of people, not just the old series, but the newer 2011 series as well. You've seen how hated cartoons like Teen Titans Go and Powerpuff Girls 2016 are, these stupid reboots. And I don't mean that from a personal standpoint. I mean stupid as in, like, you take the concept and you dumb it down immensely kind of thing. They seem, yeah, they could be financially successful, but they are hated by the community, largely hated by the community. So it's like, let's use that as our business model and shit all over some other people's beloved franchises. I'm not saying that a franchise is sacred or anything like that, but this seems like the complete backwards approach to doing ThunderCats. Because I was always under the impression that ThunderCats took itself fairly seriously, that it was more focused on being like character and situation driven as opposed to just dumb situations. This looks, yeah, like I don't know. It looks like they're aping OK Go's style with that Cal Arts face model that you've seen, where it's like it's sort of like a potato face with the large front.
Yeah.
Lion-O has that face for sure. So it looks like they're just missing the point entirely.
You know, wow, this is going to be very interesting. There are some aspects I do agree with you, to be honest, because looking at it, like, the first time I look at this, that I see, like, this cartoony Lion-O, I feel like, yeah, there's nothing else that I can think of other than this is being OKKO. Like, the art style is OKKO, the tone feels like OKKO, it's just everything about it. It just feels like it's OKKO, but you're giving it kind of this DLC skin of ThunderCats.
Mm-hmm. It looks like it's like combined with Steven Universe went from the chubby angle. Like, the characters have this chubbiness to them that the Steven Universe characters, they have like thicker thighs, thicker arms kind of thing. So it's like, oh, I said OK Go before by accident. So OKKO's style just with some of that Steven Universe chubbiness to it. And yeah, like a DLC skin with ThunderCats on top.
Yeah. Which is ironic because, like, even some of the characters in here, like, the way you describe it, it's like, yeah, they look thicker, but, like, they don't look, like, oddly enough, like, many other characters, they don't look thick, like THICC.
Extra thick!
Extra thick!
Yeah.
No, I do see, like, it is definitely a strange approach how they are trying to do this, going from, like, this 80s cartoon that really does take itself seriously, even though I do agree I do agree with the producer, what he mentioned, Victor Courtwright. What he said is the fact that even though this is silly, so what's the point of really taking it seriously? So from there, it's hard to really say. It's like a strange way to go from like what we know as Thundercats, and then suddenly to this really this whole cartoony aspect of it. But one thing I will say though, that I'm actually really not excited for this, even though I'm not really familiar with Thundercats. I haven't seen any of the shows and stuff like that. It's not because of the series itself that I'm not excited for, but honestly, it's the reactions. And I'm already seeing it right now happening with the outrage that's going on, because honestly, am I the only one here who's just sick and tired of hearing all the complaints and people going after the Cartoon Network reboots? It's gone to the point where it's really been ridiculous. I don't know, but for me, I feel like the attacks and the bias against the Cartoon Network reboots, such as Teen Titans Go and all that stuff, like the hate on it has gone to the point that it's been ridiculous, and it feels like there's no point in hearing any of the bull crap going on, and it's just, I just feel like people are just taking it way too far. And I mean, this is the kind of hate that if someone does it towards another cartoon or another movie and stuff like that, like, you would be scalded for that. Like, people would be shocked, offended, and they would take you down. But apparently, it's okay to do it on Teen Titans Go and the Powerpuff Girls reboot and all that kind of stuff. I just feel like there's kind of like this hypocrisy within the cartoon community where it's okay to go attack on certain things like Cartoon Network and their reboots, but not towards others.
I think the reason why this is, now I can't say for sure because I'm a reasonable person and I don't flip my shit every time something stupid happens, but I think the reason why they get so much hatred from people is because they are directly adapting things that people care about. Powerpuff Girls is something people grew up with, and so is Teen Titans. These are things that you could take seriously at one point, but it feels like the people who make these cartoons don't understand that. Like, they don't understand that people take them seriously. Even if they're not something to be taken seriously, people do. You know, people hold them very close to their heart. And when you take them, if you take this thing that people, they keep very close to their heart, and also they've sort of imbued it as part of their personality, you take it, and then you make it silly and dumb, and you try to appeal to children, despite, even if the original cartoons were appealing to children too. If you take that and you bastardize it, as some people might think, then yeah, of course they're going to be mad. I just think like the constant stream of vitriol is, it's not helpful at all, because the creators don't give a fuck. They don't care. They're going to keep on making it as long as it makes money. But
Yeah.
being mad about it, I kind of see both sides, as in, you should stop being so mad because unfortunately they're not making this cartoon for you, but also it should be, or if you are invested in this franchise and these characters and you can see them being what you approximate as being bastardization, then of course you have a right to be angry.
Yeah, you do bring up a very good point that a lot of these, this is like an old franchise that a lot of people do have so near and dear into their heart, but I feel like at this point, it's just like, it's been going on for so long, and it's been like, it just feels a little bit repetitive. But what's very interesting, especially with the Thundercats run, is the fact that the backlash is actually been getting a lot of backlash as well. Because, somehow, because of this, what really got popular all of a sudden is actually the 2011 series of Thundercats, that reboot. And that one, you're familiar with with what I'm talking about, right? With that Thundercats?
Yeah. Just on a surface level, I'm familiar with it.
Yeah, I'm just gonna bring it up here just to see. Hold on a sec. Thundercats 20.
While you do that, there's a comment here from Twilight Roxas.
Yeah.
Nickelodeon has done TV film reboots of classic shows like Legends of the Hidden Temple, Hey Arnold, plus we're getting a Rocco special along with a reboot of Double Dare. Okay, You are correct with that. I think the difference between something like Nickelodeon's reboots and Cartoon Network's reboots is that Nickelodeon does try to adhere to the old style of it. With the Hey Arnold one, they did their best to bring back all of the elements that made it good in the first place. So they tried to go back to the original art style with the original voice actors, with some of the original crew, things like that. So they tried to make it as close as possible. Same with the Rocco special, is that they're trying to get it as close as possible. Reboots like the Cartoon Network ones are an overhaul of it, as in some people might see these reboots as sort of like, we have this recognizable thing that people remember, let's just put our own template over it. Let's be lazy and just shit all over it. Kind of. I'm not saying I feel that way. I'm just saying that might be how people see it. So Nickelodeon adheres more to the legacy that the thing left behind, whereas Cartoon Network more apes the legacy that it left behind. That kind of thing.
Well, not all the time, because Twilight Roxas also brings up regarding Samurai Jack with season 5. That would technically count into the reboot category, considering that it does a lot of the same things that you've mentioned what Nickelodeon has done, that they brought back some of the old crew, they brought back Gendy Tartakovsky in order to create Samurai Jack and to make it as close to the original as possible.
Yeah, although it's technically, like, it is sort of a reboot, but it's also a continuation, too, because it's just the 5th season with a massive hiatus in between.
Well, I mean, technically, like, with the Nickelodeon movies, like with Hey Arnold, the Jungle Movie, wouldn't that count also as a continuation?
I have no idea. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, maybe. But going back into ThunderCats, like, if you can look into the art style, like, this is probably what people would want. It's like, this is more of, like, this is kind of like a mock anime type, like, in the veins of DreamWorks Voltron, or Avatar The Last Airbender, or The Legend of Korra. Like, you see that they're more defined, and this is a show that takes itself a lot more seriously, but this ended up getting canceled because not many people cared to watch it. It did, like, it got poor ratings, it got poor DVD sales, and people didn't see it. And at that point, if you're, like, and people are saying, if you're mad that this exists, well, it's no one else's but your fault for pretty much not watching the old reboot from before. You rejected the one that took itself a lot more seriously, that had a more refined art style and all that stuff, and now you're left with this version of ThunderCats.
Well, I don't know what you're looking at, but how extensive was the marketing for the series? Because remember, shows can live and die on marketing. Look at Wonder Over Yonder, when Disney just would not advertise that the show even existed, ever. They blame the show for getting low ratings, even though they weren't advertising the show and nobody knew it existed, and they pushed it onto Disney XD, which not everyone had. So marketing can kill a series if they're just not willing to market it at all. So it could be audience retention was bad, but it could also be, I have no idea, but it could be that they just were not advertising the series at all.
Mm-hmm. But it is kind of like a complex situation. Who is really to blame here? Is it really the channel itself for it, or do we blame the audience for not actually watching it, for not actually taking the time to actually look into it and stuff?
Mm-hmm. But you can't watch a show if you don't know it exists.
Yeah, well, we'll see how it is. But yeah, overall, like, I mean, I don't think, like we should judge it immediately and say that, oh, this is bad like all the other Cartoon Network reboots. Like, honestly, it could turn out good. It could turn out to be something enjoyable. And there are some people that are expressing some optimism as well that it could turn out maybe something like OKKO, but we just have to wait and see at this point. We'll just have to wait and see with how they're going to execute it, and if it can manage to stand well on its own. So, really, it's going to take a while, honestly. Like, the Cartoon Network stated that this is going to be coming out in 2019, but maybe there could be a chance that this might actually work out. But, like, keep in mind, this thing has just been announced, so we cannot be too quick to judge or make all those dumb rant videos about, oh, why this is gonna suck, oh, this ruins childhoods, and all that, and all that kind of thing.
that argument is spurious anyway. I would say the only definitive thing you could make a judgment call on at the moment is what is presented in front of you, so i.e. the art style. My judgment call is that it looks terrible. Not the show. I just hate this art style. It's extremely unappealing to me with these washed out colors and chubby lines, and I'm not saying everything has to be thin. It's just I find this art style unappealing. I found it unappealing in Steven Universe. I found it unappealing in OKKO. I found it unappealing everywhere. So I'm really tired of seeing this style, okay? Like this clean, washed out colory cal art style that just it's tiring because most cartoons in this vein seem to be adopting the style, and it's tiring. Gravity Falls did a really good job with it, I would say, because they compensated with the complexity in the background designs, the lighting and the staging and everything like that.
And the variety of animation mediums as well.
Yeah, but when they go for this flat, boring, potatoy looking style, it's boring, and I'm sick of it. I'm sick of seeing it.
I'm just sick, honestly, I'm just sick of seeing the cartoony style just freaking everywhere. It's not just in reboot, it's not just with TV series, but it's also affecting like movies everywhere. Like it somehow feels like everything should be like an over-the-top cartoon now. And honestly, it's just like this fad is starting to get a bit tiring now. Like honestly, can't you do anything like better? Can't you actually make a movie instead of trying to make like a cartoon and stuff?
Yeah. So that's the only thing. Oh, and also the opening theme song animation that they showed, that is just a barrage to the senses. Like I'm trying to watch it and it's like my eyes are going to explode. It's too much. It's too much movement. There is such thing as too much movement in animation when you can't even define what the hell is going on, and it's noise and color and movement and lines and things flying everywhere. It's too much. It's too much all at once. They need to slow the hell down.
Honestly, I actually would disagree on that. I don't mind too much on the opening, on what they did with the animation. The movements seem to be very smooth. It does show a bit of a quick... Like, I do understand that it shows a whole bunch at once. This pretty quick pace. I mean, like, maybe with better character designs, if they don't go with this lazy, cheap cartoon look, then it would have actually worked out very well into something exciting and probably something fun. Like, it does remind me a little bit with, it does remind me a bit of the new DuckTales cartoon, with the new DuckTales series, like, going in that style of opening, but, like, it does seem well done with what they've done, with what they did, but, yeah, it might not be appealing to all.
Yeah, it just looks like they're trying to ape the Adventure Time opening, but like on crack.
Yeah.
It's like having it all be one continuous tracking shot. That's cool and everything like that, but again, at least to me, there is such a thing as too much movement, and it's I would have to watch it like 7 or 8 times to figure out anything that was going on, and it mixed with the really super unappealing art style. It just, yeah. But in terms of actual content of the cartoon, it's way too early to judge, so everyone can just calm the hell down and just wait. Just be patient. You should always allow things to surprise you.
Exactly. And I mean, like, I understand there's everything going against it, especially the fact that people will have this prejudice bias against it because it is a Cartoon Network reboot. But I say we'll just have to wait and see. Maybe this could actually turn out well. It could surprise people. So who knows how it's going to go. But let's see. Are there any comments though? I just want to see. Do anybody want to know about? Do they have anything to say about this new ThunderCats cartoon? Just want to see what the chat wall would have for us here.
Nice bits, by the way.
Yeah, got bitties.
Yeah. Does he want the bitty? Careful, Bono, that hurts the bitty.
Let's see. My guess is that the ThunderCats reboot will be canceled very quickly than the last ThunderCats reboot. Not really. I mean, how many episodes did the 2011 one, and especially the fact that Cartoon Network nowadays, when they order cartoons, like, they would get them in giant bulks.
Let's see here. How many? 26. One season, 26 episodes. Wow, what? Oh, Pamela Siegel Adlin. Cool. Okay, yes. So to be honest, it looks like this would probably have a lot more push for marketing. So just in terms of how long the network wants it to stay around, it will probably be longer than the original reboot. Just because it's like, this is an easy, bankable idea. It's got a recognizable name. It's easy to animate. Well, easy in terms of animation style and everything like that. It doesn't seem like it would be too difficult to throw a series like this together and not require too much thought either. But again, that's jumping the gun a little bit in terms of content. I'm just saying, based on my experiences, that could definitely be a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be honest, and especially the fact that we are talking about a reboot, and let's be honest, whether you like them or not, they are very successful. Teen Titans Go is one of Cartoon Network's biggest shows right now, and you also got the Powerpuff Girls reboot. It's still going on, and even the Ben 10 reboot is still happening, so this might stay on for like a few more seasons. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if it would even have like 2 or 3 seasons, like after this one.
There's a comment here, TSF 12345. Yeah, that's why the animators hate it. Its style is way too minimalistic. Okay, so I work in the animation industry and I work with a lot of animators. I'm just gonna say, based on the animators that I've worked with, they prefer it when the animation is simpler, because if it's more complicated, it takes a lot more time to produce, a lot more manpower to produce, which often requires them to stay long hours. Not crunch time, but it does require them to stay long hours. So minimalism is preferred in television animation because it prevents people from having to stay like an extra 20 hours a week. From doing that. So maybe from an artistic standpoint, they might not like it, but from a pure workload standpoint, it is preferred for them. Like, I work with the Rocky and Bullwinkle crew and My Little Pony crew, and both of them have fairly minimalistic style, especially the Rocky and Bullwinkle cartoon. And yeah, they can get stuff out pretty quick because it's minimalistic and not as difficult to pull off as something like Anomalisa, something that requires just endless amounts of work and things like that. So just from a workload point, I would disagree with you, but from an artistic standpoint, yeah, they might despise it. I have no idea. I've never really asked.
Yeah, it's like it looks cheap, but at least you don't have to do too much on it.
Yeah, you don't have to work 70-hour work weeks to get it done or anything like that.
Yeah,
and still make it look acceptable.
Yeah, exactly. So with that said, now that we got all the hate out of everybody got the hate out of their system regarding the ThunderCats reboot, let's actually talk about a show that people actually do really like. And one I'm referring to is going to be TrollHunters. Specifically, we just got the news right now that the third TrollHunters series is pretty much ready. I think it's coming out very soon. On May 25th. So part 3 is actually going to be released. And on top of that, Netflix has officially revealed the brand new trailer for the third season of TrollHunters, which is also going to be the last season. This is going to be the one that will end this one off. But it's only just going to be for that series. And it's still going to continue technically because Guillermo del Toro has developed this entire franchise with Tales of Arcadia. So even after that, there are going to be a couple of new series that will be released a part of it, including Three Below and also Wizards, which that one is going to be coming out next year. Now, this trailer in particular of TrollHunters Part 3, that one is actually going to be the trailer was actually released right at the same time that Guillermo del Toro has revealed a new live-action series that he's going to do for Netflix, which is called 10 After Midnight. So with that said, I think we can have a little look into what this TrollHunters series is. Do you have the trailer ready?
I do, yeah.
All right, so let us begin checking out this trailer in 3, 2, 1, let's go.
Master Jim, destiny is a gift. Never forget that fear is but the precursor to valor. And to strive and triumph in the face of fear is what it means to be a hero. After everything we've been through. Are you ready?
He's joking, right? If anything stops us from defeating Gunmar, it's not just us in danger, it's everyone.
Too late! We claim the
Gunmar and Morgana want to destroy the world. We live in this world!
I found a way to Merlin's tomb. You guys ready?
The stakes are bigger.
Oh, that's good.
For the glory of, well, you, daylight is mine to command. What? We get armor too?
With fortitude and bravery, we can end the threat for all time.
Let's go.
Bring back.
I never thought I'd enjoy a wedgie so much.
Well, I'll give it this. It's got great presentation.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and holy crap! By the way, are you a fan of TrollHunters? Have you seen the series?
Funnily enough, no. I've only seen clips here and there because I was focusing on Dan and Kevin Hageman, I don't know how you say it, their other series, Lego Ninjago Masters of Spinjitzu, which I really like. Lego Ninjago Masters of Spinjitzu. It has a similar presentation within limitations that TrollHunters does, although I would say TrollHunters has less limitations than Lego Ninjago does. But yeah, so they have this really, really amazing adherence to this cinematic, really huge presentation in regards to their limitations, as in they do the best with what they have, kind of thing. So I focused on Lego Ninjago and have not watched TrollHunters, although I actually would quite like to watch TrollHunters. I don't have Netflix though, so we'll have to see how that goes.
You know, it's very interesting because I'm actually someone that much prefers movies than television, which is why in my channel I talk a lot more about animated features than animated TV shows. Yet TrollHunters is one that I love. It's one of those shows that I'm immediately hooked, like, after episode 1, and it's absolutely amazing. Like, the quality that the film, like, the quality that the show is presenting, I would say it's up there with some of their best movies. Like, if they can, like, amp up the rendering on it, I think it would look... it would be, like, right up there with How to Train Your Dragon in terms of the art style, and especially with the writing, it's just... It's so good. Yeah, so basically,
That's what I'm
I
saying,
love the series.
Dan and Kevin Hageman, I don't know how you say it. That's what I call them. Dan and Kevin Hageman, I don't know how you say it, they are great writers in terms of how to translate cinematic quality stuff into a television format. They are really damn good at it. Ironically, though, they're not good at writing movies because they wrote the Ninjago movie, which is terrible. So, but again, that's not necessarily their fault. I work with a PA who worked at Animal Logic during the production of the Lego Ninjago movie, and she said it was a complete shit show from beginning to end, which really shows in the movie how big of a shit show it was. So it's probably not their fault. I'm just saying is that, ironically, the first movie that they try to do with one of their properties is terrible, but they're so good at making, like, movie-style presentation with a television series. Like, they are good at it.
Yeah, okay, that really does explain a lot in the front of the Lego Ninjago movie. Especially, like, how do you go from, like, Lego movie, Lego Batman movie, and then Ninjago?
Yeah, well, like, apparently it was just a complete mess from beginning to end, the production of it. Like, there were so many rewrites. Same thing happened on the My Little Pony movie, too, but, like, just rewrite after rewrite, change after change. People couldn't keep up. That's why they're, like, in a school, but then they're not, and then they have giant robots, but then they don't, and then they have elemental powers, but they don't, and then, and then it's live action, but it's not. Just constant interfering rewrites just all the time, and people couldn't agree on what they wanted it to be, and it was just, yeah, shit show. Yeah. Again, that's hearsay. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's just what I've heard.
No, it does make sense considering how the quality of the film came out, especially in terms of its writing. But yeah, going back into what we got with TrollHunters here, you can definitely tell this is the kind that what they want to advertise is how the stakes are definitely higher. How Gunmar and Morgana, they're going after, they're going into the real world, and now things are really going to go down. And especially one thing that they are trying to advertise is the fact that they are going to be upgrading a lot of their stuff, where you see, like, crap, I forgot some of their names. Like, there's Toby. Oh man, it's been a little while since I've seen seen the show, but I forgot the girl's name. Crap. Hey guys, can you help me out a bit? Wait, who's the girl's name again in Troll Hunters? Is it Chloe or something? I'm trying to recall, but like you could tell that with these people, they actually do have an upgrade on. You could tell, yeah, Claire. Thank you so much, Jay.
I was just looking it up.
Thank you, Jay Monty. Yeah, that's the thing is that. You can see how Toby and Claire, like, they got an upgrade with an armor, and especially that they're actually bringing in Merlin into the game. How they're going to be preparing themselves for the big battle, which is most likely going to be happening on Earth. And I think they really are. I think this is something that they really are delivering well, at least with Troll Hunter fans like myself. Showing you how the stakes can really get high, and sprinkled in, and also like sprinkled in with a little bit of comedy, since a lot, like especially in this trailer, a lot of it has been delivered by Toby in here. So like it does promise a lot of what we enjoyed in Troll Hunter, in like the previous Troll Hunter seasons. And now we could be getting, like, a big finale that we'll be waiting for. Or, like, part finale. Because, technically, the whole Tales of Arcadia series is not fully done yet.
Mm-hmm. Hey, if there's anything that Dan and Kevin Hageman, I don't know how you say it, are good at doing, it's big climaxes of stories. I mean, Jesus Christ. Have you seen the Masters of Spinjitzu series?
Honestly, I have not.
Oh, that's too bad. Don't judge the series by the movie. The movie is terrible, but the series is good. So they seem to take this and apply it to every series that they do, is that they're really good at writing these huge climaxes where just loads of action, shit's happening all over the place. It's crazy. And so if they take that from like the scale of what they do on Ninjago and put it into Troll Hunters, I think they also do Legends of Chima, but I have no opinion on that. I've never seen it, or whatever it's called. But if they take that and put it into Troll Hunters, then they'll have a pretty insane finale, for sure.
Oh yeah, no, I think like I think like in this case right over here, I wouldn't be surprised if those guys, they're gonna go a little bit higher than what they've done with Lego Ninjago, because you got to keep in mind with Troll Hunters, we're talking about one of, if not the most successful animated series on Netflix. So this is something that a lot of people are going to be highly anticipated for. But honestly, I would like to mention also one thing that actually does shock me, the fact that we are getting Troll Hunters soon, is actually the fact that, holy crap, does time fly fast, because technically we actually just received season 2. I think it's just been like I think it's been not even half a year. Like, it came out in mid-December, and now already we're getting season 3, and
it's like Voltron, Legendary Defender. It was like I had finished season 3, and I was like, okay, and then season 4 came out, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess I gotta watch that, and all of a sudden season 5 came out, and I was just like, how are they doing this so fast? I don't get it. Like, Netflix must have a different method of production for how they produce their shows, because that's just weird. That's so weird.
Yeah, well, it's either Netflix or it's DreamWorks, because they're both from the same company.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and especially, like, when you do think about it, it's like, and then you think ahead and you realize time is flying faster, because they also got another, like, the other Tales of Arcadia series, 3 Below. That is actually going to be coming out later this year. And then after that, you got Wizards, which that one is coming out next year, and that's going to be the big grand finale that will encompass everything.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, like, the fact that they're making these so quick, it's honestly kind of shocking, and it kind of reminds myself, it's like, yeah, I really gotta... Like, yeah, you have to catch up real quick.
Yeah, I was so surprised, because, with Voltron Legendary Defender, I was like, okay, I guess I'll wait a year. Year seems reasonable for them to produce a whole season of the cartoon. And then one of my coworkers was like, hey, did you watch season 4? And I'm like, what? It's like, I just finished watching season 3, like, 2 months ago. She's like, yeah, it's up now. And I heard season 5 is coming soon, too. I'm like, what? Huh? Who?
It's
who am I?
It's honestly shocking how DreamWorks is mass producing these animated series. It's like one by one, they're coming out so quick. And especially like at the same time as ThunderCats Roar was announced, they also announced that they did that DreamWorks actually made their own separate announcement that they're bringing out She-Ra.
Oh my god, jeez, calm down. Like, I know that DreamWorks outsources this to multiple animation companies, so they don't just stick with one. I think that's maybe possibly how they do this fast, is that they throw all of their concepts to a bunch of different people and just say, okay, get this done now, kind of thing, as opposed to putting all their eggs in one basket, which is what a lot of cartoons do, or a lot of producers stick with one production company, and then they just have them work on them one by one, and that's why it's kind of slow. I think that's also why South Park can be produced so fast too, is because they're focused on just one particular thing. They throw everything they have at it, and then it can get out really fast.
Well, but then again, with South Park though, like I've actually seen the documentary on how they make a South Park episode. That one is a bit of an exception because like you got to consider the animation style that they are producing. It is so easy to make. The fact that they can actually do it on a weekly basis. So that's not much of a problem for them. But honestly, looking into like when you look at many of the other DreamWorks series, like you got to keep in mind, like when you look at something like TrollHunters, the animation is almost cinematic quality. Like
except for the texturization, I find the texturization a little bit lacking on the things. It's just a little bit too clean, and it reminds me a little bit more of Illumination style, which. Okay, for cinematic quality, I hate Illumination, but for TV, I would find it acceptable. It's just that sort of like easy to render, smooth, not too complicated texturization that makes it faster for the render farms to get through. Other than that, though, like the actual visual fidelity quality is great. Especially for a TV series, it's amazingly good.
Yeah, like that's the thing, is that it is understandable that, yeah, this does look a little bit low quality for an actual movie. Like there's still some things that they need to do, but at least what they presented here, it's amazing. Like this is like for television animation, like this is way up there. Like they really went above and beyond with the efforts that they have done. So overall, I think with what they're presenting here, I'm totally excited for season 3 of TrollHunters.
See, presentation really can make or break a series. It's like Shingeki no Kyojin or Attack on Titan. Is that, yeah, the dialogue they're saying is pretty forgettable and the characters are kind of meh and everything like that, but the presentation is so unbelievably good for an anime that it just blows everything else away. And that's why people are so, well, maybe one of the reasons why people are so impressed with it is because the scale and presentation is so goddamn good. Again, same with Lego Ninjago. It's just the presentation, in spite of its limitations, is what elevates it from being just okay to being amazing at times. So it's just so if you ever find yourself like not liking too many aspects of something, but the presentation is really good, I think it's fair to give it its fair shakes in that regard, because it means that they tried. Like, think of it, a cartoon could have the best writing ever and the best characters ever, but if the presentation sucks, it's not going to be as appealing. It's sort of like those it kind of reminds me of Isle of Dogs, actually, is that the presentation is really good, but everything else is so forgettable and everything like that, that it's just, it makes it good just because of the presentation, but everything else is super forgettable. It's kind of like how you see some of those old like older style Vietnamese restaurants or things like that, where they have this really delicious food, but then they bring in this photographer who takes really boring and crappy pictures of them for their menus, and it's just like, the food could be as delicious as it could be the most delicious thing ever, but if you take a crappy picture of it, nobody's going to want to eat it. You know, so presentation is what's most important, I would say, in order to grip your audience. That's why Gravity Falls, I think, has... Yeah, that's why Gravity Falls is so impressive, is because of its presentation, with its detailed backgrounds, its great visual fidelity, lighting, staging, everything like that is just so good. Its atmosphere, music, it's so good. Like, presentation really does make or break it. And in terms of TrollHunters, yeah, I have no idea if the writing is good or not, or if the characters are any good, but the presentation really does stand out, which makes me want to check it out.
Oh, absolutely. Let's go into the chat wall right now to see if anybody would have any questions related to TrollHunters. Do you guys have any comments, any concerns regarding what we just saw with the new trailer for TrollHunters? Or do we have... Yeah, I'm sure we have some TrollHunter fans in here, but are you guys wondering what's happening with TrollHunters 3? Could you tell... Well, someone has a random question. Could you tell me the difference between a good crossover and a bad crossover?
a good crossover is when the characters complement each other, and a bad crossover is when they just spend the whole crossover pointing out, oh, you did this on your thing, and you did this on your thing, and it's like the Steven Universe Uncle Grandpa one, where it's just like, oh, you do the silly things on your cartoon, ha 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 ha, and you do the serious things on your cartoon, ha 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 ha. Let's just not, like, you need to have an idea before you cross anything over. I would say.
Honestly, it kind of reminds me of the Simpsons Family Guy crossover. That's basically what they've done, is just taking little fun jabs at each other regarding Family Guy, and like how people are so done with the Simpsons, or how people are done with, or like Family Guy is a ripoff of the Simpsons and stuff.
Yeah, or like showing Simpsons characters actually puking on camera, which they don't actually do in the Simpsons, but they do in Family Guy. So it's like Snake pukes during the car washing scene, so that's taking an element of Family Guy and applying it to Simpsons. So basically, the worst crossovers are the ones where the two things that are crossing over are just sucking each other's dicks the whole time. Just like, oh yeah, you did this on your show, that kind of thing.
Oh my.
If a good crossover is just when they actually have an idea and they can just take the two characters, or the two concepts, and actually blend them together to make a story. That's when I believe it works.
Yeah. I actually see a really good question here. Is TrollHunters an instrument?
That depends. Do instruments of torture count? No.
No, Patrick. TrollHunters is not an instrument. Spirit is not an instrument either. That's fine. Nobody has any experience.
Fortunately, I have enough talent for all of you. When do we get the free food?
Yeah. I was waiting for that moment. Okay.
Too bad that didn't kill me.
Yeah, alright, so, now moving on to our next thing, I actually have a little bit something special that I want to do for my podcast, where I call this the bonus miscellaneous. Now, I'm not going to be talking about just animation all the time. If there is something else that has happened, whether it be in movies, TV shows, or anything else that's happening that's crazy in the world, and I have something that I want to talk about it, then I will mention it. And recently, there have been a few trailers, well, of course, that have been released. We have already seen some. But there's one in particular that really did caught my eye. And this is a movie that I am really interested in seeing, especially the fact that I am a Muppet fan. You've seen this trailer that I'm talking about, right?
Mm-hmm. The Happytime Murders?
Exactly. The Happytime Murders. This is the first time that we actually got a trailer that's coming out. And this is the first time we actually did get our first look into this trailer. Now, I will be showing it to you to see, like, what this madness is all about. However, before I play it, I just want to mention to this for the people that what we are about to see is going to be a red band trailer. So this will contain some swearing. This will contain some weird things going on, and as Cards Against Humanity says it best, there will be a lot of velvety Muppet sex. So there will be cursing, there will be drugs use, there will be violence, and all that kind of stuff. So viewers' discretion is advised. So, do you have the ready? Do you have it,
Yeah, I do.
All right, so let us begin this trailer in 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, crap. Uh-oh. Wait a minute. No! Hold on. Redo. Time out. Redo. It just randomly loaded in the middle.
Oh, sorry. It wrote it in the riddle. I'm so
hungry. It did. It's just like, it just started like with the city, and then suddenly it's just like you see this weird circle in the middle. It's like, no, wait!
Okay.
Let's try this again. 3,
3,
2, 1, go. Oh, crap. Go.
Okay.
Alright, now this is gonna work.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, we see all the puppets.
I love singing and dancing. Hiya, folks!
Brian Henson is the director, by the way.
50 cents, I'll suck your dick.
Well, it's a great price. It almost makes me wish I had a dick for you to suck.
Oh, I'll take that as a yes.
You two are the most
be one of
decorated
those
officers in this
movies.
department. What do you think?
Looks like a robbery gone wrong to me.
This wasn't a robbery, this was a hit.
What the?
Someone out there is killing puppets.
Hey, handsome.
You looking for some rotten cotton?
I'm a woman.
That's okay.
Yeah, that's even
Got
better.
a good time for you.
We're gonna catch the bastards who did these murders. Because bodies are gonna start piling up.
You're one of the best damn cops I've ever seen.
I'll have your badge for this. I'm in the fucking FBI.
Oh yeah, what's that stand for? Fucking big idiot?
Yeah, that is fun. I'll give him
Cop, good cop, where is your dignity? Where's your empathy? Where is your sympathy? Bad cop.
If shit gets crazy, I'm gonna go crazy as shit.
Is that just a fantasy?
God, are you all right?
I ruptured my hymen.
This pure ecstasy.
I'm not doing this.
Do it.
Oh, sorry about your dead human friend, Phillips.
That is good shit.
Well, fuck me.
Maybe.
Is Phil in?
Oh, God. And then,
Is that what I think it is?
Here I go. Here I go. Here I go. Here I go. Here
Yeah, okay.
yep, that's the Happytime Murders for ya. So, what do you think?
Okay, well, one, why did it have to be Melissa McCarthy? I hate her. And two, I don't know, it seems like the reaction to this is like, this is the first time puppets have ever done something inappropriate. Have you ever heard of Crank Yankers? What about the Saturday morning adult cartoon party or whatever it's called? You know, with why don't you shove it up your ass? You know, that kind of thing. This isn't like a new idea that puppets are doing inappropriate things. You
I'm
know,
just waiting for the prime example to come out. Avenue Q.
Oh yeah. But yeah, like it I don't know. It just seems like, okay, sure, I like the idea, but it's not like it hasn't been done before. Again, why the hell did it have to be Melissa McCarthy? I hate her. And also, she's not funny. Okay, I don't think she's funny. But there was something else I wanted to say too. It sort of looks like Sausage Party, but with puppets.
Oh yeah,
and-
no, that's probably the only thing that I think of. Like in the same way that how like ThunderCats Roar is very similar to OKKO. For me, I feel like I watched this and it's pretty much the puppet equivalent of Sausage Party.
Mm-hmm. And to be honest, I think Sausage Party is okay at best. This looks okay. The thing is, though, is that this trailer, whether you like it or not, completely gives away the resolution of the story. So I guess potential spoilers here if I turn out to be right. The murderer is obviously a puppet. I mean, duh. The way it's set up is like, ooh, it's going to be a human. But that's the twist, is that it's a puppet. And I'm betting it's probably Kermit or Elmo or something like that.
They would not do that. They wouldn't bring one of their big properties onto this. Especially like freaking Disney. They ain't gonna bring Kermit onto this scenario.
Okay, well, maybe if it's not Kermit or Elmo or whatever, like an approximation of them, like a Big Bird and it's like Big Bert or something like that. You know, just something that you could attribute to that. I just think like it's too obvious that it would be a puppet, so it has to be obvious in a way that's still surprising, as in like, oh yeah, it's obvious that it's a puppet, but who is it? Oh, it's this puppet who was like on the Muppets or something like that, and then he's going around murdering people for some reason, something like that. So that's just my prediction. I feel like that is fairly accurate just based on this trailer, because I hate trailers that give away too much. This probably gave away every funny joke in the movie, I'm just gonna say. Like, I do like the fucking big idiot line. That's funny. But, like, come on. They probably gave away, like, half the jokes in the movie just from this one trailer alone. And also, why Melissa McCarthy? I hate her. She's not funny.
Well, honestly, I'm not that bothered of the fact that it does have Melissa McCarthy. And like I said before, this really does remind me so much of Sausage Party, where in this case, like it's pretty much really trying to advertise the fact that you got this like you're using a medium that's commonly associated with kids, where with Sausage Party it's animation, but in here it's puppets, and they're like what they're trying to sell is that this is really going to be a really raunchy comedy. Like, you got a whole bunch of characters doing drugs, you got like Muppet hookers, and like you got characters going around like, yeah, fuck yeah, you gotta try this shit, man, you know, trying to do all that stuff. So it's really like in this film, I think like it's not or at least in this trailer alone, they're not trying to advertise about the story. They're not advertising the murder mystery. They're really trying to go for the raunchiness. They're trying to go like the full-on dirty aspect of it, and especially how the trailer ends, like a full-blown sex scene, basically, and a giant with a giant jizz joke.
Like, okay, if you like that sort of thing, that's fine, but to me, that's boring. That is boring to just be super raunchy and inappropriate and edge all the time. There's gotta be some substance that carries on the raunchy jokes. It's like fucking A Million Ways to Die in the West. There's nothing that carries on the raunchy jokes and the adult humor and everything like that. It's boring, okay? It's super boring to just... Because shock value only lasts so long. You know, and once the movie starts settling into this pattern of trying to shock you with how edge it can be, it's boring. It just gets boring.
No, I definitely do agree. I mean, yeah, for the most part, all it's trying to show is just like the raunchiness aspect. That's why for me, I feel like I have this wait and see attitude, because, okay, yeah, you got the raunchiness, but how is this going to be as a movie? Can you deliver something interesting? Can you deliver something funny? Can you deliver some interesting commentary? Because for me, what worked with Sausage Party is actually the fact that it does have something to say. There is a bit of a comedy regarding a bit of an anti-religion commentary, which does make it a bit intelligent in a sense. But with this one, we don't know what it's trying to say. We don't know what kind of story it wants to do. In fact, someone actually someone actually brought up Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which is actually a great example, which is probably something that this movie wants to do. It wants to be like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, where you got this murder mystery going along, but you're surrounded by puppets. But the main difference is that with this one, it's going to be like full-on raunchy puppets that's not afraid to swear, have sex, do drugs, and be violent all the time. So
as if that hasn't been done before.
Yeah, exactly. So with Happytime Murder, it needs, like, right now, it did successfully sell in the fact that it's going to be raunchy. But is it going to be a good movie? That still is remain to be seen.
Mm-hmm. Like, I'm getting major A Million Ways to Die in the West vibes from this thing, and A Million Ways to Die in the West is terrible, terrible movie. And why does it have to be Melissa McCarthy? I hate her. She's not funny. Yeah. Every time she's in something, I don't know what it is about her. Like, I normally don't have commentary on specific actors unless they're voice actors, but there's something about Melissa McCarthy that really pisses me off. It's just, she thinks she's so much funnier than she actually is. And I'm not saying she doesn't have the capability to be funny, but everything I've seen her in, she's not funny. Her main shtick, I think this was pointed out in Ralph the Movie Maker's Ghostbusters 2016 video, is her main shtick is being fat and falling down and knocking into things. That's it. That's what makes her funny. And then when she actually opens her mouth and says things, she's not funny. She doesn't have, like, a funny voice. She doesn't have any funny inflections. She's not funny, okay? At least to me. In my opinion, she's not funny. She is, like, anti-comedy. Whenever she trollops into a scene, she just sucks all the comedy out of it.
I don't think I've seen enough Melissa McCarthy movies to really form an opinion on her. Like, maybe that's a good thing, but yeah, I don't know. I don't really have anything against Melissa McCarthy. But one thing that is interesting to note about this is really the fact that it's hard to really determine how this movie is going to be, because you got to keep in mind, this is going to be directed by Brian Henson, and technically this is his first time that he's going into that type of territory. Like, like you saw in the trailer, it did mention about the Muppet movies that the Muppet works that he did work on. Like, he's the director of Muppets Christmas Carol. He did Muppet Treasure Island, and he did Muppets Tonight. So it's like, this is going to be something new, and yeah, it's going to be a big risk, but this could actually work out if he knows what he's doing. If he has a vision for this movie, then it could turn out into something great. But at the same time, though, there is a chance that it could fail also. So there is a bit of a mystery aspect into how this is going to be, considering that we do have a newcomer to adult entertainment.
Mm-hmm. You know what it's like? It's like A Million Ways to Die in the West meets Theodore Rex. That's what it's like. Like
Theodore Rex.
It's like a heavy-set female detective is paired with a strange, what you wouldn't expect type detective. In Theodore Rex's case, it's a dinosaur. In this case, it's a puppet. You know, that kind of thing. And then they go around trying to solve a murder mystery. Just, yeah, although, but when I mean comparing it to A Million Ways to Die in the West, is that's about the level of comedy it appears to be on. Like, I don't expect any smart jokes to come from it. I know it's unfair to judge by a trailer because trailers lie all the time and everything like that, but with comedies, you can pretty much guarantee that they just put the funniest things in the trailer to get your butt in the seat. So if this is what they have, if this is their funniest material, then I'm sorry, but the rest is going to be not that funny, you know, unless you're really, really into this like raunchy style humor, in which case more power to you. I don't care. I like it too. I love Drawn Together and stuff like that, but it comes down to the presentation and the level of care. So Brian Henson's a good choice for sure for depicting the puppet side of it, but the live action part, it's Melissa McCarthy with puppets.
Yeah, Melissa McCarthy. Well, one person that really does stand out is that, I forgot his name, but you also got the black guy from The Office as well. And, like, he has the exact same face as he did in that show. It's like, anybody who watches The Office, then you know, like, he's there. He's just doing the same thing.
Sorry, Alberto Herrera Productions says, Sherlock Gnomes trailer did not represent the movie at all. You are correct. I actually had a terrible impression of that movie before I went to see it because the trailer was so bad. There were jokes that just flat out weren't in the movie at all, like the Mankini one.
Most of the trailer was not in the movie at all.
I know, exactly. Or it was all jumbled up and in the wrong places and things like that. It was very strange. So yeah, that's what I mean when I say trailers lie all the time. So maybe some of these jokes actually won't be in the movie, although considering the type of trailer it is, I'm willing to bet that they will be. But that's a good point. Yeah.
Who knows? But yeah, I think overall with this trailer, it's going to be really hard to determine. At least in my opinion, like, I'm still excited to go see it. As a Muppet fan myself, I am interested to see what direction that they could take with it. But yeah, I am still kind of cautious. I don't know how this is going to be a movie. I know the tone of it, but how this is as a film, we'll just have to wait and see, to be honest.
Oh, another thing it reminds me of too, Team America World Police. Even though that's marionettes and not puppets, it's the same sort of thing. It's just like, you know, marionette puppets things being raunchy and, you know, sex scenes and puking and stuff like that and suck my cock kind of thing and all that kind of stuff, yeah.
Like, you got the dick jokes, you got the sex stuff, and you got all that.
Personally, Team America is much better than how this looks, I would say. Team America's hilarious. I just love Team America.
But I will say though, in terms of the looks, I do like the puppetry does look great. Like, they
that's
did
what I'm
do
saying.
A good job.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Is that you could probably count on Brian Henson to do a really good job with the puppetry. It's just the live action parts. Yeah, it's gonna be tougher for sure because it's Melissa McCarthy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna shut up now. I'm gonna stop saying that.
Because Melissa McCarthy.
And to me, that's all you need to say. Is like, oh, is this movie any good? Oh yeah, well, it's about Melissa McCarthy. Okay, you don't need to say anymore. That's it.
Run away.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it'll be interesting to see your reaction when she'll do like dramatic stuff, because I remember. I think like when I saw The Isle of Dogs, there's this one trailer that I saw. It was a dramatic movie, and it's based on a true story about a woman who does forgeries for a living. And
I saw that trailer too, actually.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
I was shocked when I found out. It's like, holy crap, that's Melissa McCarthy?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying, is that she's not funny, but maybe she's better at being dramatic. She always has this sort of, like, deer in the headlights look, where she's always like, do you believe this situation here? You know, that kind of thing. So, maybe she is better at being dramatic, I don't know. But, like, if she is, that's great for her. I'm good she excels at something. But she's not funny, so stop putting her in funny roles, because she's not funny.
Yeah, so the release date in Happytime Murders, if you guys are interested, by the way, you can, while I'm looking at this, you could go and ask me any questions, or if you have any concerns or any comments regarding the Happytime Murders. The movie is going to be coming out on August 17th, so we'll see how that goes during the end of the summer, but I'm definitely interested. I'll probably be in the cinemas during that time.
I might see it, but I don't count puppetry as animation, so I would not do a review on it, but I might see it, just to see it, you know.
I might, because, like, I'm a huge Muppet fan, and I've actually done reviews of, the 2011 Muppets movie and Muppets Most Wanted, so I might take a shot on this one as well.
Yeah, for me, my rules are very, very strict. If it's not animation, it doesn't. Or if it's at least not 50% animation, it doesn't count. And to me, puppetry does not count at all, because you don't approach the film or the TV show with a frame-by-frame. It's not frame-by-frame. You can record long takes with puppetry, and that, to me, is not animation.
Yeah.
So.
Alberto asks, do you think that this is created only for shock value?
I would say yes.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's the main selling point. That's why it was made in the first place, is to sell in the shock value. And one thing that I forgot to bring up, the reason why they released this recently is mainly because they wanted to get the right audience. And they actually put this right in front of Deadpool 2.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea, actually. That's genius marketing, actually.
Mm-hmm.
The exact same audience of people would go to see that movie, because they want their raunchiness in their superheroes, but I'm sure they would accept raunchiness in their puppets too. Yeah, that's brilliant. Yeah, whoever was on marketing that day did a good job.
Yeah, exactly. Bry Guy says, hopefully in the theater that made a mistake with Sausage Party trailer. Oh, they don't show this trailer to the kids. Oh, God. Well, I mean, it happens quite frequently, so you never know.
Yeah. RYGY1999 says you did review The Star, which the Jim Henson Company co-produced. Yeah, you wouldn't even know it, though, to be honest.
No, you wouldn't.
It's so meh. Like, it's a lot better than the trailer made it look, but it's so meh. Like, there's nothing to say about The Star.
You wouldn't know this is a Christian movie, to be honest.
I know, it's like that Family Guy joke, you know, Brokeback Mountain, but from the point of view of the horses.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
It's that, the movie. It's just like, it was not nearly as bad as I was expecting it to be, because the trailer just made it look so bad, but it was so that it's not even worth talking about.
Honestly, I felt like it was a bad movie, but it's probably one of the most harmless bad movies. It's like, I can't really, it's like, there's no point in getting angry over this. Okay, that's suck. What I mean by, go merrily on your way.
That's what I mean by, like, it's bad, but who cares? You know, that kind of thing.
All right, so with all that said, now we got one more story in which the ending, I will call this the grand finale. And with the grand finale, what I have here is something that we don't know as of yet what is going to happen. I just want to bear in mind, this is important to mention, nothing has been confirmed as of yet. We'll probably get an update on what's going on next week, or at the earliest next week, but this is regarding one more big comeback. Yes, my podcast came back, Harvey Birdman came back, ThunderCats came back, who else came back? TrollHunters came back. Technically, Brian Hansen came back in a much more dirty way, banging puppets. And not many people might be happy. Well, some people are happy, some are not, but this guy might come back. Oh, hey, Toon Grin, you just came in literally right on time. Like, this guy is back. Wow, okay. Anyways, with all that said, yes, ladies and gentlemen, there have been reports that there is a very strong chance that John Lasseter might return. In fact, before I get things started, I'm sure you're familiar with the controversy with John Lasseter. Do you mind taking this for me? Like, what happened to John Lasseter?
Okay, so in the wake of the Me Too movement and a lot of allegations coming out about certain bigwig Hollywood men being indicted well, not legally indicted, but like social media indicted in these incidences of sexual harassment, harassment in the workplace, things like that. John Lasseter from Pixar, if anyone isn't sure, he was accused by several Pixar employees of misconduct, not necessarily of a sexual nature, but he was reported giving out unwanted hugs, unwanted physical contact, kissing people, and saying unwanted, possibly sexual things to people. And he took a voluntary sabbatical from his work for 6 months to reassess his behavior. So he was not ousted by Disney or anybody. He voluntarily took a sabbatical and left Pixar, and he left with an apology saying that he did not intend for anyone to be uncomfortable by his behavior. Since then, though, he's pretty much disappeared off the face of the earth, and nobody seems to know where he is. But these articles are weighing in on the idea of him returning to Pixar for more production, but not in so much as a managerial role as more of a creative consultant type role.
Exactly. Wow, you did an amazing job there, by the way. Yeah, that's kind of the big thing with John, is that technically, yes, it's not as bad as like cases with Chris Savino or John Kay, well, thank God, but it's still like pretty bad. It's things that you should not do. And what's very interesting with John Lasseter, it's actually from the Wall Street Journal that reported...
So take that for what you will.
So yeah, it's from the Wall Street Journal saying that there is a possibility that John Lasseter could be coming back. And let me go, where does it say here? No, not you. Yes, it's right here, where my source would state, in considering a redefined role for Mr. Lasseter, Disney leadership appears to be attempting to maintain the benefit of his creative input without the liabilities that could come from his being in charge of thousands of employees, as he previously was. Day-to-day management duties, including hiring or firing capabilities, would be removed or contained in the scenario being considered. The person familiar with the matter said, re-inning in Mr. Lasseter's managerial oversight could be complicated, however, as his power came less from his official title than his unofficial position as Disney's most valued creative employee, people who worked with him said. But, once again, I'm going to highlight this majorly, it is still possible he could leave altogether or come back with his old job unchanged, the person added. So that's kind of the thing, is that for now, this is just, well, we have to put this in the category of rumors. There is a possibility that John Lasseter could come back, but in a more limited role than he is, or he was. So, what is your opinion about the possibility that John Lasseter would come back, and do you think he might actually come back?
Okay, well, I'll just get this out right now just so I can clarify my stance on this. I myself have been the victim of sort of Hollywood-based sexual harassment from movie producer, things like that. So I do feel on a personal level that conduct of this sort is not appropriate, regardless of what happened. Like, let's say if it didn't escalate or anything like that, I still believe that the intention is not appropriate, regardless of what it is. However, in a situation like this, I do believe that if someone has not induced physical or mental harm on a person to any significant degree, they should be allowed to return to their role. As in, if they're an asset in certain regards and they haven't physically or mentally hurt someone to the point where they would be permanently damaged in any way, I would say that it would be okay, just, more of a probationary role, to let them back in, because to dismiss someone's merits entirely because of their conduct, as long as it didn't hurt someone mentally or physically, I would say is not very fair, because our justice system runs on the idea that people can be reformed, that people can be forgiven and re-enter society after the bad things they did. Given that he didn't receive a criminal record for his actions or anything like that, He has not been legally indicted in any misconduct like, Bill Cosby or something like that. I believe it would be unfair to not offer him a position back in, especially if there is no legal precedent to prevent him from taking his role back. However, the damage is kind of done at this point. Getting that trust back is pretty much impossible at this point. And I say that in terms of what other cartoon-related people and other Hollywood executives and things like that have done, his, I would say, infractions towards people or his conduct towards people is relatively minor, at least in terms of what has been released to the public. Unwanted hugging, inappropriate speech or things like that. But this is not like rape allegations or anything like that. This is nothing that serious. So on one hand, I do believe that all allegations and claims of this nature should be taken seriously, should not be dismissed, and should be dealt with accordingly. But at the same time, I also believe that someone who has a certain level of merit, judging on their actions, as in if they didn't incite physical or mental harm on somebody in a permanent manner, then they should be allowed to come back to their role in a probationary stance to show that they have reformed, that they have changed their ways. Because that's how the legal system works, is that it's on the belief that people can reform and that they can re-enter society after the mistakes that they've made.
Yeah, and I mean, especially in this day and age, it's going to be extremely difficult for John Lasseter to come back, because technically this is something that Disney has been trying to hide for so long regarding John Lasseter's behavior, and they don't want that to screw over with their image. And I mean, of course, there are definitely a lot of people out there who are going to be very opinionated in this case, and especially regarding with John Lasseter coming back. But it is definitely true what you've mentioned about the fact that the stuff that he has done, technically, it's not as bad as many others. As I said before, technically he didn't go too far in the levels of like Chris Savino or John Kay. Like, really, this is just misconducts. He didn't do full-on harassments, or thank God he didn't do full-on assaults. So from there, it is a bit of a big moral dilemma regarding bringing him back. It's kind of like a battle between morality versus business. And especially with someone like John Lasseter, I feel like I can understand on both sides on why Disney would either bring him back or not. Because you got to keep in mind, this is John Lasseter that we're talking about. Despite the stuff that he has done to women, he is still one of the most influential people in the history of animation. This is the guy who actually made animation the billion-dollar industry that it is today. The guy who actually made computer animation so mainstream that now it's the norm. This is the guy who really made Disney what it is right now. Like, this is the man who put Disney and Pixar on top of the food chain. The one responsible for movies such as Toy Story, A Bug's Life, Finding Nemo, and like all the other Pixar films, and even like Frozen and Zootopia, Moana, and all that kind of stuff. This is the man who's responsible for this. And do you really want to lose that and take the risk of trying new management in order to continue and have like kind of a good positive image in your company?
Well, that's what I'm saying, is that yes, all of these allegations and claims and stuff should be taken seriously because it's not appropriate. But the thing is that if the industry is not willing to forgive him for what he's done, especially if he hasn't actually been charged with anything, he hasn't been indicted, he hasn't been arrested, he doesn't have a criminal record for this kind of thing. If they're not willing to forgive him, then honestly, even as the victim of someone who has had similar things happen to them, like a producer sexually doing sexually explicit things. I'm not talking like rape or anything like that, but it's just saying, says someone who has already been on both sides of it, I think it would be a massive loss, to be honest, if he has genuinely seen the error of his ways. I think it's perfectly acceptable to let him back. Because like I said, he didn't incite, as far as we can tell from the information present, he didn't physically hurt or mentally hurt anyone. So if you can solve this with an apology, then I believe that that's perfectly acceptable in my eyes. Because like, people deserve second chances. If his intention was not to hurt anyone, or to make himself feel better. Unwarranted hugs and stuff like that. You know, you get those from your grandma, things like that, but you don't hate her or anything like that. It's just, I don't think, at least from the information present at the time, I don't think that his intentions were anything malicious or anything like that. Like, I genuinely think he didn't realize that that was a wrong thing to do in terms of giving people hugs, because a hug is actually just the most surface level affection that you can give somebody. You know, the kissing is a different thing, but I'm just saying is that hugging someone, I believe, is not grounds for shitting all over someone's legacy. Yes, if it made them feel uncomfortable, yes, that's not acceptable. But hugs causing the downfall of a massive, influential entertainment person, I think is a little bit wrong, I would say. Yeah. It's not really fair to him. And I think the reason why is that he saw what was going on, this Me Too movement, all of these allegations coming out and everything like that. He saw what was going on. And I think the fact that he took a self-imposed sabbatical instead of being waiting to be outed by people and thrown under the bus kind of thing, I think shows his genuine level of wanting to atone and be forgiven for the actions that he's done. I genuinely do not believe that John Lasseter's actions came from a place of hatred or anger or vitriol or, you know, mental illness or anything like that. I think he just genuinely did not realize what he was doing was wrong. And that once people started speaking up, he realized what he did was wrong, and so he left. I think that was the wisest thing he could have done, was to leave of his own accord instead of being thrown under the bus by social media and Disney and all of his coworkers.
Yeah, and one thing that is especially true is that technically when you do look at the ways that John Lasseter did react during that time, it is definitely way better than how most of them did. Like, there's a lot of bad examples that people ended up really digging themselves a hole, but in the case of John Lasseter, like, he did handle the situation well, that he did a well-formed apology and then decided to leave. But in a way, like, you could see how the media and stuff like that, the way that they're, like, I've seen a lot of people really have painted John Lasseter in such a negative light, where I've seen a whole bunch of articles. There's especially one in the Hollywood Reporter I saw where they mention how John Lasseter, how he's presented as this happy-go-lucky guy with the Hawaiian shirts. It's like, it's just a mask, and what's actually happening behind the scenes is that he's more like a Trump-style fascist dictator ruling over all the animators and stuff like that. So really, I feel like at this point, it is going to be tough for Disney if they decide to bring him back, but it is possible that it's only going to be anger in the short run, and then once Disney would re-release their animated films again, like The Incredibles 2 and Wreck-It Ralph 2, then it could be something that people would just go and forget.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't think forgetting is the best course of action, because that's how things like this persist. It's complicity in the actions and forgetting the lessons of the past are what perpetuate this cycle of sexual harassment and misconduct in Hollywood and things like that. So I don't think forgetting is the best option. I think forgiving is the best option. Because, yes, you can take to heart the lessons of the past and his actions and things like that. You can consider them, but you can't demonize someone if they're in a position to be forgiven. If he made mistakes, and I'm not saying, like, you could say, like, oh, well, Bill Cosby made mistakes, you know, oh, Harvey Weinstein made mistakes. I'm not talking like that, okay? This is stuff that I believe could be forgiven. You know, like, I've had coworkers who I would say were harassing, especially at my previous job, one of them was downright obsessed with me, and he wouldn't leave me alone, and he wanted to know my rent and to move in with me and gave me gifts and stuff like that, made me super uncomfortable and made me quit my job. Does that mean I want him to burn forever in hell for the stuff that he did, or never get another job again because of how he treated me? Of course not. I forgive him, but that doesn't mean I'm going to forget it. You know, so just because someone did a terrible thing to someone in the past within reason does not mean that they don't deserve a second chance. So things like rape and actual physical sexual harassment, I don't believe gets a second chance, because I don't believe something like that can be corrected or forgiven. If someone is doing that, then there's pretty much no chance that they will not do it again. But in terms of general misconduct, seeing the error of your ways, I believe can happen in that regard.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be but that is still going to be a big hurdle for John Lasseter and for Disney if they decide to bring him back in that case. Because the thing is that I remember when the news broke out, and when I put a little bit of my commentary regarding the situation, where honestly, I was kind of like half, where I see both sides of like what would happen in the case. Like, there are some people, like, you would be surprised how some of them were like legitimately pissed off at me that I wasn't going full on negative, because some people would see John Lasseter, like the actions that they have done, that he should be treated like as a full on rapist. It's honestly ridiculous, and I wouldn't be surprised if people still feel like that to this day, that they have a passionate hatred for John Lasseter. They just want him to be like exiled from anything animation, and they just want to forget him altogether. So
I don't think that's fair at all.
No, I know it's not fair, but that, like, in that situation, like, it's going, like, I know for a fact it's going to be pretty tough for Disney when John Lasseter is going to be coming back. So it'll be something that could take time to go and heal. So really, it's going to be a tough decision. And you can even see, at least, honestly, I could even see it in Disney, that part of them, they don't really want to immediately connect with John Lasseter as soon as possible. They want to give that time, because just recently I saw Disney release this D23 video, pretty much this entire summary of what happened at D23 last year, and nowhere do you ever see John Lasseter. Like, maybe just one moment where John Lasseter mentioned, oh, look, here's all the Disney princesses, but that's pretty much it. Like, they were pretty much pretending that he did not exist, but they were not shy from presenting everything else. And like, even some of the other presenters and the big bosses of Disney, like Bob Iger, or the head of Disney Studios, or Kevin Feige, and all that stuff, like, they were not shy at all. But you could tell even Disney at this point is still trying to distance themselves from John Lasseter.
Again, which I don't think is particularly fair. Now, I know Disney has to keep up their corporate appearances and everything like that. That I get. That I understand. But the thing is that I think it boils down to, is what he did illegal? And if it isn't, then what's the problem exactly? Like, okay, obviously there is a problem. I'm saying, yes, these women felt uncomfortable and they were put into awkward situations and things like that. That's bad, yes. But is it illegal? So I believe that a corporation should only distance themselves from a person if they are officially, if what they've done could be classified as illegal, you know. With Chris Savino, yes, what he did could be considered illegal. Harvey Weinstein, illegal. Bill Cosby, illegal. All that kind of stuff. Giving hugs, kissing people, speech like that, I don't think that's illegal. I don't think that counts as illegal, necessarily. So I'm just not sure how to feel about this. I'm very much of both minds on it. Is that I don't want to undercut the thoughts and feelings that it might have given the people or the women who were on the receiving end of this misconduct and everything like that. But having been on the receiving end of misconduct like that, but also seeing it from a more practical standpoint, I would say that maybe they're taking the best possible course. Is that, yes, just because this happened doesn't mean that John Lasseter isn't still a driving force behind, you know, the creativity behind Pixar and Disney and all that kind of stuff. I just think that it's unfair to completely demonize and throw someone under the bus for a mistake that they made that could not land them in jail. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like somebody who stole a loaf of bread or something and is labeled a hardened criminal for the rest of their lives or something like that. Or somebody who smoked a little bit of weed and gets thrown into jail for 5 years. You know, it's like the punishment needs to balance the actions. Like the punishment needs to balance the crimes that were committed. And personally, just based on what's been released to the public, I don't believe that completely demonizing and throwing him under the bus is an appropriate response to his crimes, I would say. You know, his conduct.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
I think overall, like, what caused, like, the big reactions and stuff like that, I think, like, we're still living a little bit in the heat of, of the hashtag #MeToo movement, where, like, at this point, like, people are finally speaking out about how these actions are wrong in any place. So what they want to do is that they want to make sure to, like, take down anybody who would take these actions. And as I stated before, there are people out there that they would see, like, awkward hugs are no different than rape. So from there, like, people are just getting really too excited over the fact that they want to take down anybody that would be labeled as a sexual predator, and every one of those would get equal justice to that. So it's going to be a bit difficult to see. And I mean, like, honestly, I feel like this is probably the most complex and difficult discussion to talk about in animation right now, about the morality of John Lasseter, what he has done in terms of business and his relations with people. So it's not an easy discussion, but again, like, we have to wait and see with what will happen. And like even in the Wall Street Journal article stated itself, there is a possibility that he could come back with as if nothing happened, or like he could completely leave entirely. He's not going to be at Disney anymore. So it's going to be a real it's going to be a real mystery, and it's going to be a real tough discussion. But for now, I think the best way to describe John Lasseter's position is that he really is a controversial figure right now. That like there are still some people that do love him, but there are others now, they would reject all the things that he has done for animation and just completely hate to his guts.
Personally, I think it all comes down to the fact that there just isn't enough information right now. There isn't enough detail as to what he actually did to people and how it made them feel, things like that. There just isn't enough information available for us to make a solid judgment call over whether or not he deserves to come back. Because to me, on the surface level, giving hugs and saying inappropriate things and stuff, the kissing is another thing, I'm just going to say, but the hugging, saying potentially inappropriate things and stuff, to me, that just doesn't sound like anything to me. Because, like, the hug is the most platonic form of affection that you can show someone, and saying inappropriate things, that's kind of the way workplaces are, but there's no information as to what kind of inappropriate things he said. Like, what did he say to them? If it was like, oh yeah, honey, I want to bend you against a bench and fuck your ass to pieces kind of thing, that's inappropriate. But if it was just, I don't know, like, I'm not privy to enough information to make a solid judgment call. It's just hard to say. There is one comment here, though, in the chat, Bry Guy 2000, that's kind of problem with the sexual harassment case. Evidence is key, not words itself. That is a problem. The thing is, though, is that a lot of people use this as an excuse to say that what they're saying, what these people who come forward with these stories they're not real, because it's only evidence through hearsay, rumor, and anecdotal evidence. The thing is that that's kind of how sexual harassment works, is that it generally happens where people can't see, where they can't hear you. So just the fact that it is anecdotal does not mean it's not true, because, as I've said, I was the victim of it, and all I have is anecdotal evidence. That doesn't mean it didn't happen. And the thing is that these, generally speaking, nobody wants to be on this side of a case. Nobody wants to be the person to out an influential person for sexual harassment, because there will be people who just say, oh, you're just doing it to take him down, or you're lying and everything like that. But the truth is that 99% of all sexual harassment, obviously that's not an official figure, just from what I understand, is that none of it has any physical evidence to it. It's just the mental scars it leaves behind, the stories it leaves behind, and the impact it has on you, your work, and your life. That's it. That's all it has. So trying to find physical evidence of sexual harassment isn't the best idea. it's often better to give the people who come out with these allegations the benefit of the doubt, because if you think about it, why would anyone want to be on this side? Of course, there's going to be one or two crazy people out there who just say it because they want to hurt somebody, but you can't disparage all sexual harassment claims that come off of anecdotal evidence just because one or two people use it to hurt somebody. It's not fair. Okay, it's not fair to assume that everyone is lying just because there's no physical evidence.
Yeah, I see. So with that said, we shall go into the chat wall right now. Do anybody have any comments or any questions related to this subject? I mean, we've both talked a whole lot. In fact, you mentioned you've had really quite an amazing mouthful right there in this particular subject. So, guys, do you have any concerns regarding this whole situation? If you're concerned, rather, if John Lasseter is coming back or if he's not, it's going to be a big mystery, because at this point, like, looking into, I think it's in this article that it stated that it's going to be very soon. I think it's probably in here, or I think it's in the other one. Yeah, it's in the one for the Wrap, where it mentioned that there is that I think it's going to be next week, or I think it's somewhere else. I've heard it's in I think like either the 21st or somewhere around that area, somewhere next week, like 21st, 22nd, 23rd, 24th, where they will make an ultimate decision on what John Lasseter is going to do. If he's going to be coming back, if he's going to leave Disney, or we don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, there's a comment here from Alberto Herrera Productions again. Black Critic Guy mentioned that hiring more women won't solve the whole sexual misconduct problem. It's hiring the right people. Well, see, the thing about hiring the right people is that these people were the right people at the time. I mean, these things don't happen until they happen.
People change. That's the thing.
Exactly. People who are put into positions of power oftentimes do inappropriate things because they feel that they can get away with it. But they don't start that way. There are some people who are hired from the get-go who, yeah, they do act this way. But the thing is that these happen after they're hired, not before. So, and often many of them coast off of their prior successes in order to continue doing this kind of stuff. So I don't think hiring more women would solve the sexual misconduct problem either, but it's not about hiring the right people. It's just trying to, it's about treating people with respect, with the respect that they deserve, but obviously that's apparently too much to ask. So
it also depends on the amount of power that these people have, because like when you talk about John Lasseter, like you got to think of the difference between like the beginning of Pixar and how Pixar is right now, because like he's just, John Lasseter was just an average guy with a dream with working at Disney and making animation great. But then you look at Pixar right now, and as I said before, John Lasseter is one of the biggest and most influential names in animation. He has tremendous power. And with that power, I think it was Louis C.K. that said it best, like in his apology of his sexual misconducts, that when you do have power, sometimes you think you can get away with things. So that's the thing, that like when you're in a really high position, like when you think you own a company or something like that, there are some people out there that think that, you can have a cup of feel and you can get away with it, no problem. Like nobody's going to stop you from there. So that's kind of the big thing, is that people really do change. And it's not about who you're hiring. It's really keeping an eye on their behavior, on what's going on.
Brad Guy 2000 says, I'm a little scared of how many women who are strong supporters of the movement, how many are going to protest if he comes back? Well, keep in mind, just remember, everybody has a right to protest, okay? If they disagree with the decision that Disney makes, regardless of what it is, they have a right to protest. It doesn't mean you have to validate their protests in any way. If you disagree with them, then disagree with them all you want. But the fact that they're protesting should not prevent Disney from making a decision altogether, because the worst thing that they can do is not do anything, I would say. in this regard. They need to make a decision because technically speaking, John Lasseter is their responsibility. So they need to make a decision on what to do with him, because if they don't, well, then technically speaking, if they don't make a decision, then they could be considered complicit in his actions. Whether or not they're legally, whether or not he's legally trying to remember what the word is. Anyway, if he is responsible for these actions, that could be, an arrestable offense or a jailable offense or something like that. If Disney chooses not to do anything, then a lot like the Channel Awesome thing, just by saying nothing, they are complicit in these actions and therefore could be held accountable for it. So,
yeah. And I'm honestly expecting if he does come back, there will be backlash. There will be people that are going to be against it, and there will be a lot of articles that will try to defame John Lasseter and also drag down Disney with it. There is going to be backlash on that. There would be backlash on that level if that scenario comes, but I don't think it's going to be in the short. I think it's only going to happen in the short run.
Remember, the internet has very, very short attention span. Alberta Herrera Productions, they should have the sexual harassment equivalent of suicide watch at the workplace. Yeah, it's called human resources. That's where you go if you have any sort of misconduct or sexual harassment, anything. If you have any issues with your workplace, you're supposed to go to HR to report it. So, yes, that is what it is. But remember, is that with sexual harassment, especially from someone who is much higher up the food chain than you, a lot of people don't want to be that person who brings it up. It's frightening. It's terrifying sometimes to be on that side because. Yeah, if it's like you're poking the hornet's nest kind of, and nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to, unless they're the one or two crazy people out there who just like, I'm just gonna start shit because I'm insane, that kind of thing. Nobody wants to be part of a sexual harassment case because they're so. Again, they're all anecdotal evidence, everything like that, and there's no physical evidence. All you have is your word. And people are generally going to trust the word of the big, powerful guy more than you, the lady at reception, or the lady who brings him his coffee, or the lady who drives him to his meetings, or something like that. More people are inclined to believe the person who has millions of dollars and hundreds, if not thousands, of supporters and all that kind of stuff. So it's scary and it's unpleasant to be on the accusing side.
Nobody wants to be on drama in general. Like, nobody wants to be in a position where you're pretty much pinned as the bad guy. Like, no matter what the situation is or no matter what would be the reason why people are angry about it, it's not a place where you would want to be in. Trust me. It's a scenario, even I've been there, and it's not fun. You want to try to get out of there fast and try to make sure that your reputation can still be intact even after that.
Exactly. So I had the same problem with Black Critic Guy's Chris Savino video, is that a lot of people in the comments were downvoting it and negative and everything like that. They're like, well, you can't prove it because it's all just anecdotal. I trust Chris Savino. And it's like, but why would these women go out of their way to shit all over this man's legacy for no reason? There's obviously some backing to it, and let's say for every 10 accusations, one has been overblown or possibly faked or something like that. Does that diminish the impact or the importance of the people who do have legitimate cases against him? Just because someone is wrong doesn't mean everyone else is wrong, is what I'm saying. So that's what bothers me the most, is when people defend the actions of these people by saying there's not enough evidence, you can't prove it, that one person said bad things or was wrong or lied, so that means everyone's lying, that kind of thing. It's the idea that someone could be excused for really harsh sexual harassment stuff like rape, inappropriate touching, comments, things like that. The fact that someone could be excused for that because people allow it to continue to happen by saying these sort of things is really unbelievably sickening to me. As a girl in the animation industry who really wants to get into a position of, a higher position at some point, let's just say that it's a frightening prospect to have to know that any person you work with could suddenly flip a switch and decide they're gonna take advantage of you.
Yeah.
Because they can.
Yeah, I understand that. And I think with all that said, I think that's pretty much our entire podcast right now. So I just want to say thank you so much for coming here in the christening of the new podcast. And my God, it's been quite a crazy journey, I must say, going over 2 hours even.
Yeah, no, this was a lot of fun. I was glad to be on. Always appreciate it.
And also, I just can you tell the people if they really have been highly interested in what you would have to say and they want more of you, do you mind telling them where they could find you?
No, I mean, you can find me. I'll just type it in the chat here, I guess. On YouTube, it's EyeofSol, no spaces. I'm not the gun from Destiny. That's where you can find me if you'd like to see any more of my reviews or anything like that. Reviews, game live streams on Twitch, video essays, lots of stuff. It's all animation related too. It's not, rant channels or anything like that.
All right. Any other places, social media, Patreon, or anything like that?
I do have a Patreon, but, I like to advertise mostly to people who actually are viewers instead of people who are not.
You just go to YouTube on EyeofSol.
Yeah.
So, with all that said, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank you all for coming and thank you all for listening to this episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. Tune in for the next episode for more crazy stories that are going to be going on in the animation world. And with all that said, thank you guys so much for watching. And until next time, see you later, dudes.
Bye, everyone.